Yes, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. Today we will present on the effects of American Romanticism on world literature between rise and fall. And my name is Umirul Basirah.
And my name is Muhamad Syahir Nazmi bin Ramli.
And I, Nur Fareeha Aishah.
I am Nadiatul Amirah binti Ibrahim.
Hi, my name is Muhamad Amsyar Afiq bin Ahmad Azhar.
Hi, my name is Nabihah Hanis.
And now we are going to start our discussion about Romanticism. But first of all, I would like to ask all of you, what you guys understand about Romanticism?
Romantic, thingy.
Romantic
No,
things.
no.
No?
Of course.
About love?
Love?
Maybe. Or romantic literary works.
For example?
Maybe there's a lot of love story during that time.
Good. Okay. Actually, Romanticism is a movement of the 18th century and 19th centuries that mark in reaction in literature, philosophy, art, religion, and also politics from the neoclassicism and formal orthodoxy of the preceding period. Romanticism so gradually and exhibit so many faces that a satisfactory definition is not possible. And between the period of 19th century and 18th century, in the US, it is often called as Age of Realism. You guys know Age of Realism?
Yes.
Ever read.
What is it about actually?
This is not good. I need you to explain.
Yes.
Okay, you want me to explain?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, Age of Realism is actually is a form of works, and they are who present their novel subject matter in a realistic way, which means they celebrated imagination, intuition versus reason and calculation, subjectivity, metaphysical, democracy, and so on. And the great writers of this period is like Shakespeare, what is it? Jonathan.
Yes, I know him.
You know Jonathan?
Yes.
What kind of books that you know from him?
I'm not sure, but I think it's also a masterpiece about love story.
Yes. And you know the Scarlet Letter?
I'm not sure about that.
Actually, Scarlet Letter is a piece of art during that time. And we are going to focus on American romantics. That American romantics tend to penetrate nature as a central or a medium of their own works of art, and it is also champions spiritual intuition or self-reliant individualism, in which some intellectual historians argue is a secularized outgrowth of Reformation Protestant radicalism. And they often, however, illustrate the egoistic, futile, destructive aspects of their questing heroes. And in literary technique, American romantics will use symbol, fantastic element. For example, the white whale. Do you know the white whale? No?
No.
Or maybe it's a long way back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I don't know. And the style is often very original and not rule or convention oriented. I think that's a brief explanation of Romanticism. And you guys get it now?
Yes,
We understand it now.
So I will continue on rise of American Romanticism. Have you guys any idea about it?
Yes.
What?
I think it's the Age of Realism. Or not?
Do you guys have any question?
Where is the glory years of the
So-
Romanticism?
Oh, the glorious. Okay. When we are discussing about Romanticism, we should have known that the glorious were in 1850 until 1855. In that period, the culture, there was time for literature and art. There were American publishers, and even more important, copyright laws protected writers from having their works printed without their permission paid in England. Oh, how amazing was that? Because that shows how the pride of American Romanticism had been held high even by another country in England, but they showed much respect to American Romanticism. And during that time, there were a lot of masterpieces such as Emerson's Representative Man, and like what Ira has told us before, The Scarlet Letter, The House of Seven Gables, Moby Dick and Fear, and Whitman's Leaves of Grass. And so, any other question you want to know about?
How about the major reason for the rise?
Okay, actually there was something that could be the major reason for the rise of Romanticism in America, which called the Romantic Movement. The Romantic Movement. It was an attempt to create a special American culture. Basically, it was the liberalization of the individual for more freedom to pursue their own form of reason. It drew from a deep love of nature, one instilled by America's rugged and beautiful landscapes. You know America? They like beautiful,
love nature,
love
like
nature.
before.
They
Yeah.
appreciate nature more.
Yes, that's
These
what.
symbols
That's what Americans do. And it encompasses all areas of American society. Literature, art, religion, philosophy, even politics were positively impacted by the Romantic movement. So I think that's all about the rise of American Romanticism.
Actually, I have a question. What happened during the rise of Romanticism in America?
Okay, during the rise of Romanticism in America, novels, short stories, and poems replaced the sermons and manifestos of yore. Romantic literature was personal, intense, and portrayed more emotion than ever seen in neoclassical literature. So America's preoccupation with freedom became a great source of motivation for romantic writers, as many were delighted in free expression and emotion without so fear of ridicule and controversy.
So there means here that the church influence on literature become weak because of this Romanticism.
Yes, sort of, yes. Because the words of the Romantic era also differed from preceding words in that they spoke to a wider audience, partly in reflecting the greater distribution of books as costs came down and literacy rose during that period. The era also saw an increase in female authors and readers.
Okay, basically I'm going to continue the effect of rise from what Amsyar discussed just now. Okay, before that, anyone want to ask about the American Romantic?
Right. Okay. So what are the focus during this American Romanticism?
Okay, actually, it is a movement where the literature focus more on imagination, intuition, and also individualism. But what we can say, okay, there are 5 characteristics that I can discuss with you guys. Okay, I will start with the first one. Okay, it is imagination. Okay, it is parallel with the Industrial Revolution. And that is where they start to imagine during that time, during the American Romantic, they embrace the notion. Okay, so they have a story just from the Washington Irving. Okay, Rip Van Winkle encompass a man who wants to escape some course his wife asking him to do in the woods, but his wife dead. And actually he escaped both woods and his wife. Okay, that's the imagination, but okay, then I will move on to individuality. Okay, that's another characteristic that we can identify American Romanticism. It embraces freedom, okay, by following intuition and going exploring. Then I will go briefly for every characteristic. Alright?
Alright.
Okay. The third one is the nature as a source of spirituality. It is used to identify American Romanticism, and it reflects on nature and how it can make people closer to God. So it has something to do with the God. And next, my fourth characteristic, okay, it is wisdom from the past. Okay. Then the last one is common man as a hero. It simply means characters who are flawed but whose innocent are strong morals give them good hearts. Okay, then that's all for the 5 characteristics. Okay, the rise, the effect of rise. Okay, within the American context, it is we can see the effect of rise is in terms of economic influences on American Romanticism. Okay, actually it contributes to the growth of reform movements in the United States, America. Okay, then we can see the increase in disposable time and income, which is leading to a growth of appreciation of writing, reading, with the growth of leisure class. Okay, then we can see another one is expansion of print culture within the American itself. Okay, that's all from me, the effect of rise.
Okay, since Amsyar and Syahir have discussed about the rise of American Romanticism, and I would like to tell to all of you about the fall of American Romanticism. Actually, during this period, it stretched from 18th century and ended through the outbreak of Civil War. After the war, people got into a new literary world that is realism. It causes the fall of American Romanticism because realism is a cultural portrayal, and all their literary works, such as painting and music, depicted a contemporary view of what was happening, and also attempt to define what was real at that time. Instead of being all romantic, idyllic, and exaggerate, the realism showed the objective and realistic description of the society. And during this time, the people were more aware of things that happened around the world. Hanis, do you have any question?
Actually, I wonder what is the purpose of realism at the beginning?
Actually, the realism wanted to bring forth the true fact, the political and social problem in the society were going to be revealed. And next is, because of realism, it caused the distance between the people and religion increased, and the spiritual got less important. Poems also got unpopular, novels, short stories, and plays dominated. Through the long text, the authors could bring forth the environment in the society as it was seen in a most likely and trustworthy way. The meaning was to create an objective picture of the society, like the author of during that time refers to as modern breakthrough. The texts were going to bring forth people's interest and make them ask questions about injustice. Actually, Romanticism and Realism were two competing styles of artistic and cultural thought and practice. For decades after the end of the Napoleonic Wars, Romanticism, which emphasized heroic individual achievement, mysticism, and also the power of emotions, dominated European intellectual life. Realism, which followed Romanticism, returned the focus of the arts and literature to more concrete matters and tended to glorify real individuals' work and social justice. The starter of realism exactly attribute many reasons to the fall of Romanticism, and the reason is they wanted to depict real life, not imaginary thinking among the society. They wanted people to realize about reality, not illusion, in their eternal life. Because of they wanted to depict real life, the literary world thus rejected Romanticism. The authors such as Samuel Sheldon showed their literature works that oppose Romanticism in themes and elements such as recent or contemporary life, social criticism, sociology, and psychology. And for your information, these two literary terms are part of larger pattern of cultural history in the Western world. They are two stages of back and forth between cultural styles that emphasize the real and concrete, and those that are more mythic and ephemeral in their focus. And Romanticism was preceded by the era of the Enlightenment and was in large part of an attempt to break the bounds of careful and reason that had defined the era, and realism was two competing styles of artistic and cultural thought and practice.
Alright, Alright, so we move on to the next point after Sis Nadia. Alright, so Romanticism idolized not only the monarchy but also the methodological characters as seen in the Andalus Gregorian classic work, which is the Burial of Attila. So his work was romantic in the terms of it emphasized on emotion rather than physiological meditation. So romantic would mystify a composition by slightly contouring shapes to create what we call visual intrigue. And the authors of These and Kleiner indicates that while Romanticism dominated the early decades of the century with its goals of expression, dramatic emotion, or ideal beauty in its subject matter, taken from the most part of the scenes outside the common everyday about the experience or other vein of expression, also was beginning to address the country's growing appreciation of the presentation of optical arts. So realism was distinct from the Romanticism that it did not focus on Orientalism or the intrigue of the East, but instead of realism focused internally on Europe's impoverished working class. And the goal of realized was to confront the present economic issues rather than focusing on past heroism. So there was no false nostalgia or ideology in realism, but only the harsh and brutal truth. And so, you guys have any question?
Oh, actually, what is the similarity between realism and romanticism?
Alright, good question. So, a strong similarity between realism and romanticism lies in the facilitation of their works through their ardent political supporters. And romantics acquired considerable support under the Louis XVIII, were commissioned through the governmental patronage of the Royal Academy of Painting and Sculpture. So, and then similarly to the romantics also, the realists relied on the saloon and upon writers such as Charles. So similarly to the romantics, the realism relied on the saloon and upon writers such as Charles to emphasize the importance of their agenda. So both movements relied upon the support of institutions which propelled the movement political agendas regardless of communities. Each author represents different arguments. Alright, so we will move on to the later American literature came to the Transcendentalism. So Transcendentalism took a slightly modified path of comparison to Romanticism. So you guys have any question regarding to this matter?
Transcendentalism? What happened during that Transcendentalism?
Alright, during this era, it is emphasized on individualism and self-reliance and rejection of tradition, what we call it, authority. And while the Romantic movement produced a large number of poets and artists, Transcendentalism produced a similarly large number of epistemological theories, such as Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau. So the foundation of Transcendentalism is the idea that emotion or our spirituality can transcend the constraint of logic and empiricism within the human consciousness. Alright, so I think you guys get what is it about the Transcendentalism, right? And the similarity between realism and Romanticism. So
Okay, so here we come to the conclusion. So now we all know about what is Romanticism, which happened during the 18th century until the 19th century. And we all know about the characteristics which mentioned by Syahir, which are imagination, individualism, nature as the source to be closer to God, and wisdom from the past, common man as the hero. And we also acknowledge about the Transcendentalism, what is the purpose of realism, etc. So the conclusion already know about romanticism, and it's not only about the love thingy. So we can bring what we learned today to be a better person in the future. Okay, that's all for us.